She actually left.
Hello, shooters, loaders, and casters. Welcome to Friday Night Live Stream, and thank y'all for joining us this evening. We have the usual cast of suspects here tonight. Y'all say hey.
Hey. Yeah, what's up, guys?
Hey, everybody. How you guys doing on this lovely Friday? We had a little bit of rain come through earlier today, but it's kind of looking nice and cool for once down here in southern Georgia, and got a little bit of a wind even, so it's been pretty nice here. Would have been a nice day to go to the range. Well, no, my range is probably a swamp right now. But so how's everybody else doing there?
I'm just excellent. Thanks for having me on, guys, in the side chat. Like you said, the rain, it's been raining all day, like monsooning. So I was gonna try to shoot myself today. Not shoot myself. I was gonna try to go shooting today, but I ended up lucking up and going like deal hunting, so that worked out for me.
What'd you get in deal hunting?
Oh man, look, it's in the car. I gotta go get it. I got an ammo can of 5.56 green tip ammo, 420 rounds. Regular price $174. I ain't paying that. $65.
How'd you do that, man?
Boots to the ground.
I saw the video, left a comment. You
I seen I was responding to a lot of people, man, but yeah, it was good. And I got some pewter today too. Hey, Uncle Jim. He said save the shaker.
Okay, yeah. Cue me. Got it. Chico, you really tick me off sometimes, you know it?
Sorry.
I was mad about all the cast iron and pewter that you got for, what was it? $4 or something?
It was a total of $6. It was only one cast iron cornbread pan, but the other two were aluminum, and they was almost the same style. But yeah,
okay. I thought they were all 3 cast iron. I'm sorry.
Whenever they rung up that cast iron, it was $4.99. They was like, that's 50% off. I was like, $250?
Oh, good evening, everybody. I'm trying to keep up with the side chat. It's just popping too quick right now. I can't look in the beautiful little camera lens and keep an eye on that at the same time. Thank God I have a house, because if not, I'd need an ark. It has done nothing but rain in my neck of the woods all for the last 2 days, and last night it was terrible. But I got up and looked around this morning. If I had a roof leak, I'd know it. I don't have one. So we're going to run through the side chat in a minute. Y'all just keep me posted. If y'all have watched my video, I got a brand new challenge coming through, and a special person to not be named is going to add an addition to that little video that I'm going to make. But everything's looking up. I had a great week, just real busy. I got to work tomorrow for a little bit, but it's not nose to the grindstone. It's come in, and let's see if we can fix some of this mess before the owner of the company shows up in 2 weeks. So I get to go in and make a little extra money, so that's good.
Just a little extra money? Or is it like one of those big check extra monies?
Well, it ain't no Publishers Clearinghouse.
Okay.
I don't need balloons and stuff.
I don't know, man. Balloons are nice, dude. Can you imagine that? You go do some OT and you come in, you get this big ass check, you get to hold some balloons. That'd be great. I'd be more motivated, I'll tell you.
It would be great, but unfortunately, that doesn't work that way.
I've always wanted a big check. Don't know why.
That's what she said. Oh, sorry.
She was a little hard of hearing too, wasn't she? Speaking of hard. So how's everybody doing out there on the chat? Looks like we got quite a few people. I guess I'll do a little rundown then while we're waiting to get kind of going here. We've got a JCM 45 out on the, what's that? Sorry, Jamie, I cut you off.
No, man, I forgot to unmute myself. I was just saying that, saying hey to Scotsman and Eagle. Big man. Go ahead. You do that much better than I do.
No, not at all. But I will if I need to here. So we got Jesse B Outdoors. Crazy Scotsman, I hope you're doing well, brother, and you're getting some sleep and that work is going all right for you. NYC Reloader, glad to see you. Uncle Jim with the seems to be anti-balloon. I just don't understand it. The Gun Enthusiast, Andy 79 Z28. 79 is my birthday year, by the way, so all you all fools, old. Willie Bullet Man, JCM 45, Chris 338, Philip Smith. Glad to see everybody come out here. Ambiguity, our fellow Georgia brother. And who else we got here? Michael Sines. How you doing today, sir? Glad to have you on the other week. Thomas Pickering, glad to see you. Edward Petty, any relation to the king, sir? And who else? William C. Chapin, Big Man Outdoors, I've most likely already mentioned, but if I didn't, it's worth hearing twice. Floyd Hicks, Vanessa Kitty, I'm sure that we've got some other people here that I'm missing. Bill Johnson, how you doing today, sir? I got a little Meg here early on. That's cool, man. I hope you're doing well. I haven't talked to you in a while, brother. Kingpin, how you doing today?
Mario popped in. Hey.
Nice. I'm sure Fuzzy's here. If he's not, I'm still going to say hi to him. Pony 47. Yeah, Jeremy Gunslinger early on coming in here. Guys, I appreciate everybody coming out like always. You guys are great. Phil Rivers, how you doing today, sir? You were on the – glad to see you as well. And it was nice having you on the other week with Michael. But we got a bit of a topic up again today, guys. We're going to go back into the world of brass prep for rifle shooting. We've done a little bit of talking about it, so we got somewhat of an idea what we're doing this week. Hopefully it won't be bedlam, but I'm not going to guarantee anything. But I think we're going to try to hit on a couple different areas of brass prep as it applies to, precision rifle, hunting rifle, maybe even some auto stuff, which I know nothing about by and large. But it will be interesting to shoot the breeze, so to speak. Anyway, so where's everybody at? What's going on besides watching the side chat?
I got kids and dogs, and it's a madhouse around here.
That's what I just had was kids, no dogs. I was smart enough to know I don't have time for a puppy, so I don't know. I'll have to I'll put a video of this cute little puppy that I almost got. I think I've showed it to you guys. I'll put a puppy picture in my next video. It's not a baby polar bear because those are the cutest things on the planet until they grow up to be able to kill you. But it's just a really pretty little Rottweiler puppy. And, I almost took him home. But I said, no, it's not fair to him because I don't have that much time to spend with him. So,
man, I feel you. If she ever decides to go to doggy heaven, I think I'm going to wait until I have more time and more land, She spends way too much time in here just to sleep.
Man, you need to have her reloading, brass prepping or something.
I'm telling you. And not only if you blow in her face, it gets her back leg going, and you can just attach that right to the handle. She just turned out with a 650, boy. It'd be ugly.
There go Fuzz.
Hey, Fuzz, how's it going, brother?
Yeah, I had plans on going to the range, but it was even though it's an indoor range, but when it's raining, I don't even want to transport my stuff. It's just, it wasn't sprinkling, it was monsooning. I didn't want to. I got cases that I put my weapons in, but I didn't even want to deal with that. So.
Oh no, it was terrible this morning. Oh my Lord.
Oh yes, took my son to school this morning. I was like, oh man, and we got.
It took me 45 minutes to get to work, Chico. 45 minutes. And you know where I work, and you know where I live. It's 21 miles, 45 minutes. But thankfully, I wasn't one of the 7 people I passed that was spun out on the interstate because they was going too fast, and now the whole front end's ripped off their car for them little, what do you call them? It's not guard rails, guard wires. Isn't that what they put up? It's just the 3 wires. It's not even a rail anymore.
That just seems dangerous.
I mean, if you're in a Corvette, it's just going to send the car under the wires and take your head off.
That just reminds me of like back when I was a kid, my grandmother's like cheese slicer, just that'd be bad news, man. Damn.
And
Especially like a rear engine car.
Uncle Jim, I want to send you a personal thank you too, by the way.
It's not an impersonal thank you, it's a personal thank you.
That's what I said, a personal thank you.
I know, brother. I just the fact that you had to say personal, I was just giving you crap. It's all right.
Okay, I want to send you a public informal. Do not argue semantics with me, young man.
Young man, we're the same age.
I know it. You old bastard.
Hey, I started to today also. I started call Jamie, but I kind of knew he might have been at work. So when I was out deal hunting and stuff, I stopped by a pawn shop and looking at they had some lever guns. I was like, "Hey, what's that lever gun you got up there?" But it was like the little kid behind the counter. He was like a 35. I was like, "Huh? A what? A 35?" I'm like, "Can I see it?" And I said 35 Remington. It was a Marlin. I started to call Jamie. It had the JM stamp on it too.
Ooh, how much do you want for that?
I think it was right at about. Don't get me the line. I don't know. I didn't pay attention. I said, I don't know, man. I have to call Jamie about this one. But it was clean. It was nice. Had a little scope on it.
Well, yeah,
Whatever it had on it, you would have offered him half of that.
Yeah, I would have, man. Hey.
Is that at a pawn shop?
It was.
Well, that's standard operating procedure. You're at a pawn shop and you see a price, you start negotiating in half what he's asking.
Oh, definitely. I mean, for instance, this is what I did look at. They had a Model 10 Smith & Wesson, and I was like, it looked rough. And when I looked at the price, I was like, I can buy a brand new one for that. So you obviously know the price was $500, and I was just like, nah. So I figured.
Did you ask him about the price of the 35?
I looked at it, but I don't recall because I looked at everything they had. They were trying to sell me this 308 something that was 16 Springfield. Looked like a tactical rifle type.
Oh. I
was like, no, thank you. But so I'll probably go back. It's not that far from me.
Yeah, you said 30-06 in Springfield and the same thing. My eyes got real big. I'm like, oh, you said tactical. I'm like, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, it was some crazy model. You know how that is.
Didn't have wood on it. It ain't the right
one. It was all synthetic, yeah.
Oh, you can't break your thumb in that one.
Yeah. it was nice. It looked nice, but I was like, ooh, not for 1,600. So
Brody is asking Jamie a question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Brody, in my opinion, hunting in brush, yeah, there's no comparison. 35 Remington all day long. Neither one of them's going to be a whole lot of good to you out past 100, 150 yards. I wouldn't take a shot with a 30-30 over 100 yards. I just wouldn't. And I say that because the 30-30 at 100 yards is pretty much the deer hunting standard. What you do is you find the energy equivalent and, weight at of 30-30 at 100 yards, and then relate everything else to that because it's killed so many deer. But there's been a whole lot of deer been lost with a 30-30.
And deer ain't just deer. There's another thing.
It's a live animal. You need to make sure you can put an on-target shot and a dependable one.
I know deer down here. Like I don't know how it is up around where you guys are at, but down here, I mean, they're big dogs.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's like shooting a German Shepherd or something.
I mean, I don't mean like no, they're good sized animals, but it is nowhere near what a deer is up around Pennsylvania or in other areas of the country that I've seen where, a bug just head is taller than I am, like not even including his rack. So down here, it's like, it's just smaller deer. You can take over 30-30. But you try that crap with one of those big mamas.
Yeah, the deer I've seen on the side of the interstate in Illinois, they will straight up mess up a vehicle. And for them to get hit so hard that they're dead, the vehicle they hit was totaled because these are some huge animals. I mean, and the skin's still as thick as the skin is, you know. It's just they're bigger, so you're going to have to do a little bit more damage to drop them in a humane manner and not chase them for 7 miles.
The only run-in I had with an Illinois deer when I lived there was it was very similar to a run-in I had with some coyotes. I was up a ladder behind an airplane and doing an inspection, and when I turned around, a deer had come up out of the grass because the grass was real high to try to keep the birds out of there, and I guess a couple deer had been in there. So she came right out and was standing probably about 10, 15 feet from me, and I turned and looked. I'm like, "What are you doing?" Looked at me, jumped like straight up in the air, and turned at the same time, and just it was a pretty good doe though. Pretty good size.
Big Al said he'll take the 30-30 because that's what he's hunted with all his life, and that be, you know, taking that into consideration. You got a rifle, you know what you're going to be, where your impact point is, your point of impact. I don't care what caliber it is. If you're out there confident that you can bring a deer down with that gun, because it ain't about what you shoot them with, it's about where you shoot them.
Right.
That's the main thing.
Point. Yeah,
very much true.
And you know, I'm glad you said that, Jamie. How much bigger is that cartridge or that case rather compared? You know, if you compare the two, the 30-30 and the 35 Remington.
Okay.
I was about to say he's probably got him right next to him.
I know he had him back there. That's why I was like, I would assume that those grains of bullets are probably similar, maybe.
Okay, this is a 170 grain Lee flat point and a 30-30, and see it has the rim.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a formidable cartridge. I mean, you know, it ain't no 30-06, but it's a 30 caliber, 170 grain, and this is a 200 grain Lee cast 358. So you're looking at 308 or 309 here versus 358 here. So you're looking at, you can see the difference in the diameter.
Yeah, also looking at it, look like a bigger powder charge.
Yeah. I can look up some data for you, but typically a 30-30, well, you got a lighter weight bullet. You can see that the case is much smaller in diameter if I get my fingers out of the way.
Right. Yeah. That's the main reason why I said that, like the higher powder charge based on the diameter of the cartridge or the case rather. And I remember, I think it was you that told me when I'm looking at those Marlins, I do want the one with the JM stamp, right?
Yes, but that's going to cost you more.
I'm going back and look at that rifle.
It might not be there if they had a good price on it.
I don't know, man. You know what? I went to this pawn shop, I don't know, 4 months ago, and they had some of the same guns there. I think they're overpriced.
Well, if they're overpriced and they've been sitting there a while, there's liable. He's probably going to be more inclined to listen to your offers.
Right.
Okay. The test loads I did with 30-30. Those are cast, but those are jacketed bullets. But 33.5 grains, 34 grains.
With a 30-30, what kind of powder were you using? Revolution or something?
Hornady, 160 grain Hornady 308 30 caliber FTX CCI large pistol primers. Data was online from Hodgdon, so it was a Hodgdon powder.
Probably Levolution.
Lever Revolution.
Okay.
And that's a higher charge than any other powder out there.
I was looking for two comparable powders that I could talk about here. Okay, all right. You're looking at 30 on a 35 Remington. You're looking at 35 grains to start with 48.95, and you're looking at 27 grains to start with on a 30-30. So that's a comparable powder with a comparable bullet, and starting charge weight. So you're looking at what, 7-8 grains starting difference, and maximum would be 48.95 is kind of not what I should have used here, but it's working. 39 grains on the 35, which is compressed, versus 29 grains on the other. So it's a 10 grain difference on the maximum charge too. I don't know. I'm trying to be Johnny on the spot with the information, but it didn't work out that way.
Eagle can hear my puppy. I guess y'all can too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we've been listening to it. Got a muzzle?
I don't know what I'm gonna do. Throw her outside in the rain, maybe.
Nah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, there's a different talk about, taking a deer with a 22 and stuff like that. I know a guy who used to use 30 carbine all the time, even though it was illegal. Here it was, at least at the time. But I mean, it's all about, like I said, it's all about placement, but still, you can get lucky doing anything. You can also shoot one with a 22 right in its brain and it somehow or another live and run off. Yeah, you never know. But I do agree there are certain calibers probably that are more suitable, especially in brush. And that 35 seems to be a little bit better of an animal for that.
I didn't want to act too interested, but when I seen it, I was just like, I said, "Oh, it's a 35 Remington." Because the kid, he was like 35. I was like, 35. I said, "Let me see it." And,
Hey, Chico, I know where you can get lots of good load data for cast bullets.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I know somebody who cast those bullets too. So
I was wanting to show Big Al he's asking what press I've got. It's the move it over a little bit. That's the Lee 4-hole classic cast turret press.
He can't see it for all of our pictures.
Yeah, he was asking what press it is. Man, I love that press. I just really do. And y'all carry on. I'm gonna mute myself while that dog's yapping. I'm going to kick her. Y'all know better, don't you? I hope you do.
Yeah.
Maybe if I bring her in here, she'll be quiet. No. Bad idea.
Never can tell.
Maybe she's sitting in my lap. Jesse B, you can't go wrong with a Lee classic cast turret press. It's so versatile. You can do so much with it. And I use it for all my rifle stuff. And I've got that progressive now, thanks to Kenny. And I got a Kenny, are you still out there? You're still out there, aren't you? I hope so. Yesterday I got home and I had a case feeder.
Awesome.
And I bought another shell plate for 9mm and 40 and other stuff. I was hoping I could use it for 223 also, but that ain't gonna happen. So they're just too. It's about the same size case, but it's just too sloppy.
Yep. Sometimes you can get away with it, like 9 and 40 do work because I use my Loadmaster and don't have to change anything but the head because the base plate and everything's the same. Locating pins, everything's the same. On my Dillon, 308, 270, 30-06, all use the same base plate, just use different pins, locator pins, like a number 4 here for this caliber, a number 5 here for this caliber, number 3 here for this caliber. So that's kind of neat. That's why I use my Dillon for all my rifle stuff, because I can change calibers by going whoop, whoop, done. And just start loading. Anyway, I thought we were going to talk about case prep.
We got an hour and a half. We can lead in. I don't think anybody's hurt too much. But I'm
Oh,
with you.
man. Yep, that's right, Fuzz. Willie got his press back. And he's happier than a pig in snot. He actually got to looking at it, and they did change the turret assembly in it because he said, I know there was a mark right here on mine, and it's not there now. So I said, well, look at it this way. If you're in the customer service industry, you're not going to send back a product of yours that you fixed with a letter that's saying, yeah, we built a piece of shit, so we replaced this. You're going to send a letter that says, well, in your repairing process, you managed to mess up this. So we rotated that a 72,000th of a degree, and now everything's fine. You know, that's the letter you're going to send out. Not, oh, yeah, we fixed about $300 worth of stuff for it, but we didn't charge you for it.
So Jesse B put out a video. He also made it to 300 subscribers. So congratulations, Jesse. I see you out there.
Heck yeah. Welcome aboard, sir.
I'll be sure to check that out here when the.
I'm sorry. I've been neglecting the crap out of the side chat. Here, I'll put a dot.
Sorry, I had to walk off too.
No, Scotsman, she's busy at work. I saw Chico sent me a link to a deal, and I'm just slow to jump on stuff, man. I'm just like, I don't know, that's still, but
Did you contact them at all?
I didn't even send that person an email unless I've got a check ready. I'm not sending nobody.
It's probably gone. That's the one thing about those deals, man. And I've lost out on a lot of the Ruger, the 1911 Ruger. You guys know about that. I mean, I was kicking myself about that. That's one thing about those deals. But I think that was a good deal, man. So
JCM45 says he hit 300 subs as well. So guys, if you haven't checked out Jamie's video, he's gone over 300 subscribers, and he's going to do a giveaway for something extraordinarily nice. If I wasn't like a good friend and a member here on the Georgia Shooting Connection, I'd be putting in for it.
Chico put in for it.
I'm going to put in for it, but I'm going to donate my entry somewhere else.
Well, I always felt like when it's like one of us that has a giveaway, it's like sort of like when you hear a radio station does a giveaway, it's like people that work for the radio station aren't allowed to like enter. I always kind of looked at it that way. I'm like, nah.
But I also know people that could use the items being given away that may not be familiar with the giveaway to begin with.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes I'll ask to go for the maximum amount, or I'll do the steps or whatever, but just give me an entry and I'll donate it to somebody else. Somebody that I know hasn't entered it. I don't know if y'all think that's cheating, but whatever. That's the way I do it.
I was glad we've already got in like 25, 26 entries, and Michael Sines was the first one to do a VR, and I want to congratulate him because his VR showed that he understands what the giveaway is about, and that's about building those relationships and helping those guys that don't have that many subs get their count up. And that's what we're doing. Is we're trying to help folks, not bringing attention to myself or ourselves. And yeah, people are what matter, Kenny. You're absolutely right, and that's what we need to stay focused on. So
it's like Jim says, if you want to grow your friends and family, that's fine. If you're just looking for numbers, it really doesn't matter. But I consider everybody on the side chat and everybody on the panel my brothers and sisters. So
shit, that was good, wasn't it, Mario? He's talking about Michael's VR and that wife beater.
And a white beater.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Takes me back to my past. He needed a Pabst Blue Ribbon and
A pack of Red Man probably go real well with
A big woman walking around. I'm getting tickled. I can't do this. I'm gonna be laughing till I'm crying.
that.
There was a couple that were friends with my mom, and his name was Robert, and her name was Evelyn, and she always wore those what I called old lady dresses, and they, the ones with flowers, real loose, and all
Looks
that.
like somebody pulled down the drapes. Yeah.
Kinda, yeah. And he always sat around in a pair of Dickies work pants with that white wife beater on. And he always had a beer, and she was always smoking a Pall Mall.
Yes, sir.
I'm like, it don't get no more redneck than that. But let me tell you something. That woman could cook. Good Lord. She made the best biscuits. Other than my grandmother, she made the best biscuits I ever put in my mouth.
I'll almost guarantee they had that furniture with the wood, the dark wood, and then it had that fuzzy feeling to it, and it's like a picture of like a barn on it. If you know what I'm talking about, that 80s furniture or that late 70s, early 80s furniture that like everybody had.
Nathan, this was in the 60s, buddy. That shit ain't come out with yet.
I guess not. That's way early.
Yeah, I was a little bitty boy at the time. I mean, I was like, grade school. Yeah, they hadn't. Y'all remember the Sloppy Joe furniture?
Yes.
I don't know as if I do.
What does it look like?
It was like pine wood, accented in like the burlap like material.
Like Joe is what you call it, huh?
I don't know what else to call it. It was real rough.
Hey, West Covina, glad to see you.
It was like pine furniture. Pardon the frogs. It was pine furniture, and it was like multi-layered burlap cushions that was like brown or like hamburger bun color, Sloppy Joe color, hamburger bun color. Is that what you're talking about, Jamie?
Yeah, it was always that brown, orange kind of weave, rough burlap looking stuff.
Yes, had the orange stripes between the colors and stuff. Yes. You know how I'm so familiar with that?
How's that?
That's what's in the cabin down at the shooting property.
Still. Anyway, we're supposed to be a reloading type, gun type stuff, not critiquing furniture from the early 70s.
You mean we're not early 70s fabric reviewers?
Not last time I checked.
Oh crap. All right.
So y'all check the chat for me, please.
Me?
Yeah, Chico, your turn.
Okay, look, I got a question.
No.
It's because of the topic. Our topic is brass prep, right? And we're mainly talking about rifle. So let's say most of everybody knows how to clean your brass. So are we gonna start like right after that?
Well, once we get done going through side chat, I think we start going to after clean brass. That makes sense.
Right.
That sounds good.
Okay. That's the only thing I was throwing out because I think I know how to clean it.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Well, I was going to talk about something I do before.
Okay. It said to probably help.
Okay.
It might even help me. Yes.
So you want to run down chat there, Chico?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know y'all was telling me that. Okay. So we got Pony 47, Big Al, Michael Science, Insight Freedom, Fuzz Fork, Brody 556, Larry K. Webb, Vanessa Kitty, JCM 45, Mario Mosen, Ambiguity. I messed that up. Sorry.
Ambiguity.
Scotsman, Ocean 374, Big Man.
Did you just call him Ambi Big Duty?
Yeah, I messed that up.
I messed that up.
See, okay. My Georgia brother. Who else? Crazy Scotsman, Measuring Grains, Uncle Jim, Vanessa Kitty, Gunwild 1, West Covina, Dodge, Philip Rivers, Eagle Eye Shooting, Willie Bullet Man, Kingpin, Andy 79Z28, Michael Sines, Edward Petty. I seen Pop's Quest out there. Uncle John, Jesse B Outdoors. And I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone.
I'm sure you didn't say 67 Rebel SST AMC.
Yep, thank you. NYC Reloader, bigger behind the trigger. I hope you're doing okay, brother. And that is it, what I'm seeing at the moment. Haven't seen Floyd yet.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Alaska One Andy, that's new.
I haven't seen him before either. So
hello and welcome to the Georgia Shooting Connection.
We're usually more professional than this, but we're leading in a little bit. So, Jamie, you said you got something you wanted to talk about, basically from Rough Brass, from the Rough Brass point. So, what's that, brother?
I just okay. Here's a sack full of range brass I picked up. And what I do, and I'm sure most of y'all do this too, but I have my well, never mind. I've already deprimed these. I was just going to say that I generally deprime mine before I clean them because I want my primer pockets as clean as I can get them with as little effort as possible. Do y'all do that?
I do. With my pistol brass, and I'm probably being OCD or something.
And I use the Lee. I'm getting it out of the die now, out of the press now, so I can show y'all. I use the Lee Universal Decapping die because it's got such a big old hole in it. All it's going to do is deprime it. And I have got on eBay, I think, and bought a Squirrel Daddy decapping pin because it's so strong.
I didn't know about them.
Yeah, it's hardened steel. And if you're going to do 223, you're going to wind up with some 5.56 military brass, and that that's not real copacetic.
308 will eat up some decapping pins too.
Yeah, all that military stuff will.
Yeah.
But that's the reason I bought that thing. And
so what was the name of that decapping pin? Dirty Squirrel Love?
Squirrel Daddy.
Squirrel Daddy. I wonder if they make one for Hornady. I mean, I don't know.
They're the ones that make the world's finest trimmers.
Okay.
They just, chuck up in a drill and you go Z. Once it goes Z, you're done. And if you can't figure out how to set it up, send it to them for $6. They will set that baby to your exact trim to length and Loctite everything where it will never change. And if you ever wear the head out, send it back to them. They'll send you a brand new one with the same measurements because they keep them.
Well, if they make one of those highfalutin decapping rods for a Hornady decapping die, I might actually go for that.
Yeah, they do make what the hell? I want to say depleted uranium, but it's not. It's not just your normal, just cast milled junk. It's some serious decapping pins.
Yeah, I used to just use a 4570 die, but I went and bought a decapping, an actual real decapping die the other day, or not the other day, hell, I guess a couple months ago.
If I'm doing test loads for a carbine load, we're talking pistol brass, like 44 Magnum 9mm or 44 Special, anything like that. If I'm doing test loads, I will deprime before I clean. Other than that, if it's just like go to the range and burn up ammo, I'm not decapping it. I'll just bulk wash it, and it's plenty clean enough.
Yeah, but Brody's talking about 10 millimeter.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing load development for a specific weapon and you're looking for accuracy, yes, by all means, decap it and then go through your cleaning process, whatever it may be, whether it's tumbling it in dry media, wet media, sitting there with a toothbrush and some flits. I mean, I don't know what you're doing, but yeah, if you're looking for accuracy, yes, you need to deprime it and clean the primer pockets and all that stuff.
Okay, Larry Palmer just popped up with an interesting question. Is there a Lee decapping pin for rifle brass with small flash hole? They're all the same.
Yeah, if you've got a piece of brass where the flash hole is too small for the decapping pin to go in, you need to throw that Malaysian-made Taiwanese whatever piece of brass out, because you don't want it. Our mission here is not to have to line bore the flash holes on pieces of brass. If it's that much trouble and they went to that little work to manufacture it, you don't want to reload it. That's my opinion. I mean, I may be wrong.
I've never ran across that, but I'm curious to know what type of brass that is, Larry Palmer.
I was too, because I'd never heard of that either. But if I did run into that problem, I would probably get rid of that piece of brass.
The only small decapping or the only small flash hole I've ever seen is when it comes in a pair of flash holes. And
yes, not the Berdan, but
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
I don't
but,
know. That's the Romanian AK ammo, and I mean, yeah, it's a,
yeah.
There's
Hey,
Charlie.
Charles, glad to see you, brother.
I'm sorry. That was just the point I was trying to make. I've never seen that, and if I ran across it, I'd get rid of that piece of brass.
Lapua? Is that right?
What he's talking about is Berdan primers. Chico.
No, Larry Palmer responded. He said Lapua when I asked him what kind of brass that is.
And then Jag says that he heard Lapua brass small rifle primer only works with red and decapper. And you know what, guys? I really wouldn't be overly surprised. There seems to be a fair amount of nonsense going on right now with people trying to break away from standardization for the purpose of trying to make people buy other people's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing about it is to decap. There's Berdan and what's the other one?
Boxer.
Yeah, Berdan and Boxer. One of them's a center flash hole. One of them's got two. So I've never even seen a die to decap the. I think it's Berdan that's the two, right?
Yeah, well, what he's talking about is there's actually, it appears as though that there is this a Lapua brass that uses small rifle primers. They must have a small flash hole in it that seems to work only with a certain kind of die decapping pin, which, like I said, wouldn't so really surprise me.
Right.
Unfortunate, but yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just not privileged enough to be able to afford Lapua brass.
I've had some. It's nice stuff. I mean, I used to really love old Norma brass too. I mean, there's a lot of brass that I've liked. I don't know. Now they get fancy crap with special made stuff, but I don't shoot that way, so I have no idea.
I've never bought it. I have no doubt that it's fantastic brass. I've heard a lot of stuff about it, but I just never bought it.
Yeah, check this out. So your standard Remington, whatever regular brass, the flash hole is 80 thousandths of an inch. The Lapua's flash hole is 62 thousandths of an inch. It's a lot smaller.
Where'd you find that fast? You Google Phenom, boy. I'm telling you.
Google.
Google.
Bam!
Can y'all see that hole?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. That's I just typed in Lapua brass small flash hole, and that's like Nathan said, when people try to get away from the standardization, they probably sell that that decapping die or that pin.
And which actually makes sense because it was less machining time on their end.
It has to be some scientific burn rate type deal that they came up with. I assume.
Yeah, it
Cool.
most likely has something to
That's
do
all.
with, yeah, like you said, with flash rate and different burn times. And I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying that I think it's kind of nonsense when people start stepping away, like Hornady does with cutting brass too short and all this. We've got whole books full of standardization for reloading, and then some of these companies, it seems like in the past 10 years, are trying to break away from that, and I think that's a mistake, like a big mistake. You know,
Okay, so now we've got our brass clean, right?
sure,
Okay, and we're talking rifle brass tonight, right?
that'll
Yeah.
work.
All right, what's y'all's next step?
Let it sit in a tote for about 6 months.
Let it dry real good.
Put it in the oven, maybe if I'm feeling froggy.
Well, what I'm saying is, so you've got a dried piece of some sort of tumbled brass. It's clean, and it's ready for your next step. So does everybody deprime rifle brass before you tumble?
I do.
I do.
I do.
So
I
next thing I do is
would.
check length.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I would. Okay, so your next natural step is to do what?
Check length.
Okay. Anybody want to elaborate on that, or are we just going to assume that everybody can measure?
Well, I mean, there's two different ways you can do it. Depends on what I'm doing, and depends on what rifle. Like, if I'm doing something that might grow a fair bit when I size it, then I wait.
I size mine next.
I'll also sometimes uniform private pockets, depending on what what I'm shooting in it. You could size it, then check your length, then cut it. If I'm shooting something that's straight wall, then I'll most likely just go ahead and check it. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the way that I do it, and we're dealing with 308, 270, 30-06, bottleneck cases,
Okay.
is the first thing I'm going to do is check the length, period. Most of my loads run pretty warm, but with low net tension, but they're on the higher side. My 308 go-to load is compressed. The first thing I'm going to do is check the overall length. If it's real close to max, I'll sit in a separate bucket after I write on it how many times it's been loaded, which I started learning to do that because I had a lot of problems last time I went out. I had a bunch of ammunition malfunctions because that brass had, I think, 8 compressed loads on it, which was a lot. I was still amazed. I said, I'm just going to run it until it goes, and then I'll know. And I had a case head separation, which was not fun. So I write on it which batch of brass it is. That way I know, because it's already been tumbled. I don't have to worry about it. It'll stay marked. And I throw it in a bucket that I know has to be cut. So what I'll do is, once that bucket gets full enough to even make it worth the time, I'll go ahead and cut them before I size them. That way I know that I'm not going to mess up my precision sizing die if you have one of those, a Redding or a Forster or something like that, because too long of a piece of brass will do that. If it's under normal specs, I'll go ahead and lube it up, size it, remeasure it again, and then sometimes they require just a little quick trim. Sometimes you got to take a little bit more off of them. Sometimes you don't have to mess with them at all. So now we're talking, we got 7 buckets laying around here, but you know exactly what stage every piece of brass in those buckets are. And I'm talking full length size and die if you don't know where the brass came from. You don't even need to know what a neck size and die is if you don't know where that brass came from.
I agree with that, and I also believe
hold
it.
off for a minute and y'all go ahead.
What's that?
I said, I'm going to hold off for a minute and y'all go ahead. I just wanted to throw that in there. That's the way I do it. Here's a couple of coffee cans here. I've got it written out with a Sharpie exactly, what's going on.
Yeah, I if I'm gonna shoot it in an auto, I do full length size every time. I know other people don't. I know some people get real fantastic with their autos and precision shooting, but just for me, I prefer the I mean, I know you can do plunks and everything else, but I like the full length sized eye, small base die for my 223s.
Threes and AKs, stuff like that.
Yeah, whatever it is, and 30 carbine, I don't give a darn. If it's going to be an auto loader, then I'm going
Just
to
go
full length size it.
Okay.
And I'm going to. That's another thing we're talking about trimming. I'm going to trim after I size it,
Right.
because there's always that oddball chance that one's going to come out right, and then when you push the neck back on it, she's going to run, the case neck out a little bit too far, and then when it chambers in that thing, it's going to crimp that bullet a little extra too much. So I have seen, by the way, if talking about that, is I have seen where, let's say I take and size, or I cut all 20 cases. I trim all 20 cases before I go ahead and size them. That I have done that before. I'll size them. I'll go back and check, and some of them will be a little bit long, some will be a little bit short, which tells me that there's something going on with brass thickness necessarily that might be different in between those cases, even if they're the same lot. So you do have to kind of double check if you're trying to get real nets fine with things.
Well, that's kind of the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier about the.
If you know you got to trim it, go ahead and trim it, and then see what it is when you're done.
West Covina, I'd agree. Range pickup brass is like the girl at the bar at closing time. Yeah, she's just what's left. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It'll shoot.
Oh, just wrap the bullet.
Compared
So, I got a question, rookie question. Y'all go easy on me in the side chat. So look, because some people may not know, I'm gonna ask a question because I really don't know the complete answer. What can happen if your brass is too long and you load that cartridge? And
When it chambers into that chamber, because think about it, a bottleneck chamber for a rifle is tapered down to the thread, or the not threads, got them in mechanic mode. The rifling.
Okay.
It's tapered all the way to the rifling. It may not be much of a taper, but once it hits the rifling, that's a taper. So if that brass is too long, now it's gonna run in there and chamber
into the rifle.
If you ever had a bolt gun, it's real hard to close the bolt on. That's because you're pressing the bullet into the rifling of the bore.
Okay.
Or you're pressing the brass into the rifling of the bore.
That's what I was assuming.
And what that's doing, that is taking your case mouth. I'm trying to make a circle here. Now you run it into the bore. What are you doing? Right? You just made it smaller. What's that going to do?
Crimp on the bullet.
Which is going to do what?
Pressure.
Yeah. Okay.
Under pressure.
You got me under pressure. and it can be, if you're already running a fairly hot load like I was. My problem was the brass was had been worked so much it had gotten thin in one spot, because I know the brass wasn't too long. I know the overall length wasn't too long, because I measure every single one of these rounds. If I'm going out shooting at a paintball at 300 yards, I want to know that everything's right. So I know none of that was wrong. The brass just been worked so much, because these are hot loads and they've been worked so many times. I know I can't load them that many times anymore. I'm going to cut it off at 5. I'm not even going to go for the extra 2 or 3. As a matter of fact, this whole bucket of brass right here is fixing to get thrown out, because they've all got the same amount of loads on them. I don't want this to happen next time. I had people in town from Iowa and we couldn't shoot.
So you also, I know you said, excuse me, it'll crimp the case or crimp the bullet more, but it also can produce or have bullet setback, which would definitely increase the pressure.
And then you crimp it down even tighter. If the bullet ogive hits the lands while you're closing the bolt, that's pushing the bullet further in the case. Okay, because the bullet's just going to sit there because it's already dug in.
Right.
And then if you keep going and the brass hits the rifling, man, you pull the trigger. That's when crazy stuff happens. That's when actions explode.
Yeah.
And I mean, so case prep is important, and it depends on what you're doing, what you're using the application for, as to how many steps you need to do. Or you can be super anal and go crazy on everything. Some people choose to do it that way. That way, they never have a problem.
Well, this is my order. I bring it in from the range or wherever. I deprime it, decap it, whatever you want to call it. Then I clean it. Then I lube it and size it. And then I'll measure it and trim it if it needs it.
Cool. You know, and I'm not totally. I'm a rookie, but I'm not a total rookie, right? You know, I read and study, but I just sometimes that someone explaining it instead of me reading it works both ways. It helped me and possibly help someone else out in the chat. Like I told you, I've never yet have reloaded rifle ammo, so I'm absorbing and digesting and studying all of this, and I kind of knew about the overpressure, but I didn't know if you could have like a failure to feed or a failure to
Oh, you can have a failure to feed and just keep ramming that bolt home. Every time you do, it's jamming that bullet deeper in,
right,
or crimping on it even more. If you ever have to really work to close that bolt, don't pull the trigger, because something bad could happen.
Yeah.
Pull it out, sit it over to the side, take your red Sharpie and make an X on it. We got to figure out what's going on here. This is not good. I've actually been at ranges where people have loaded 30-06 rounds to 308 specs with overall lengths and everything, and didn't know what they were doing, and their barrel landed at the 50-yard mark.
Whoa.
It explodes the chamber. I mean, they're sitting there with a stock and a trigger. Luckily, they still have a face because everything went that way. But the stock's broke in half. The action and the barrel are about 50 yards out. Because they use the 30-06 powder charge, but they use the 308 overall length. Yeah. They sat there for 20 minutes trying to get the case to feed.
The reason
I'm
sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
Here's a 308. Okay. 30-06 is only about that much longer. Okay. It will fit in the chamber. They used 308 load data in 30-06 cases with 30-06 powder charges is what happened. And he pulled the trigger and that sumbitch exploded. They shut the range down for the day. I think he had to go to the dry cleaners instead of the hospital, but he's lucky.
I always, like I said, I size mine before I trim it, before I even measure it, because it can grow after you size it. Charlie Brassstuffer had a good point. He says if you keep your brass annealed like you're supposed to, that it'll grow from the neck and not from the web.
Right.
And it'll last a whole lot longer.
I've made a deal with Ozark Spirit on that because he's got one of them Annealese machines now. So me and him have an understanding. So we'll deal with that. What I do is I just shove them in one of them 100 case gauges right quick before I throw them in the to be reloaded or to be sized bucket. Just throw them in a gauge. It sticks out the bottom, throw it in that bucket. They all got the same number of loads on them. Just throw it in that bucket because you got to trim it. So you might as well trim it before you size it so you don't mess up your die. And then check it again when you're done sizing it. But here's the real important thing. If you're not familiar with loading rifle brass, lube it. If you don't, you'll get real good.
Don't overlube your brass.
Oh, I was just gonna say I was reading. And I'm just
No,
reading.
no, I was yes, because then you'll get dimples in the shoulder.
That's
And
what
all
I
that stuff
heard.
because liquid does not compress. If you're going to make your own homemade case lube and all that stuff, you know, got your bag, about 6 or 7 squirts. What I'm saying is, don't run it in dry. Well, we just need to resize this one right quick. We already did it once, and you put it in there and you go, shit. Because then you get real good at working drill bits and tap sets and making pullers out of bolts and nuts and washers. Because you're going to have to manually pull it back out, and
Oh,
your press won't do it.
Michael Sines asked, "Do you need to anneal tapered cases?"
Yes, that's what we're
Michael,
talking. Oh, you talking about tapered pistol cases?
tapered cases, period. And what I think he's talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong. And then I got a question also. Um, he's talking about these what we would call straight wall cases, cases that are not bottlenecked. Am I correct, Michael? Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Like the rifle that he's buying is a 50-95, that kind of stuff. 45-70.
In my
okay.
opinion, they should not grow that much. Depends on how many times you're going to reload that case. I mean, always, if you're working with something weird, not like 9mm or something like that, but if you're working with something weird like that, I would always measure the overall length of the case. Because yes, it could grow, but you might can get like 4 or 5 loadings out of a case wall that's so thick you can get 20 loadings, but then it grow to the point where it need to be trimmed.
Yeah,
What are you
he's not
talking about,
asking.
annealing?
He's not asking about trimming. He's asking about annealing.
Oh, annealing. Well, but what I'm saying is, if you need to trim it, that's because you need to anneal it. You have to relax everything back to where it is. That's why it's stretching so much.
When you work hardened brass, either by it expanding to the chamber and then you pushing it back down with your die. And that happens mostly with a bottle neck type cartridge because it's expanding in length and width. And with a typical straight wall or 4570 type tapered case, it's only going to expand outwards and then you're going to push it back. And it's less work, so you typically aren't going to need to. However, if you have a die that is oversizing your brass for brass life and for consistent good crimp on your bullet, you may want to go ahead and anneal it after so many reloadings. One thing I would do to check that is if it starts looking like you're having some chattering or some slight like chipping around the case mouth, probably means that you're getting a little hard.
Which
That's
means
my 2 cents.
which means you need to anneal it. Jeremy Gunslinger, is this a problem in pistol caliber rifles like a lever gun 45 Colt? And seeing how Nathan has both the 45-70 and the 45 Colt, that would be right in his wheelhouse.
I've never run into it with 45 Colt. I mean, I've had cases that'll split, but I don't worry about it. I just toss them. I've got a lot of them. If you're somebody that's trying to have a match set, maybe you want to look at it. But if you're like me and you've got, a big tote full of 45 Colt brass, it's not that big a deal if you have one that splits. They typically don't head separate, so they don't make for a dangerous situation. They'll just side split, and that'll be fine. So no, I don't anneal 45 Colt, or if I had a 357 Maximum or Magnum, I wouldn't do it there either. For rifle anyway.
You get side splits when, say this is your case. You get side splits when they keep going like this. You shoot it, you size it. You shoot it, you size it. You shoot it, you size it. You get case head separation when it's an not overcharged, but a really hot charge load, and you're always consistently pulling brass this way. It's making it thin down here because it's got to come from somewhere. That's not fun, and you can really tell when you pull the trigger when that happens. And I just stopped. No, I mean, they're perfect cases. Everything's exactly within Sammy specs and all that stuff, but I can't get inside of it to measure the wall thickness down here, and I just don't trust them anymore. I've loaded them, like I say, 8, 10 times, and just throw them away. I'm done with them. They're good. Maybe make 22 bullets out of them or something. I don't know.
Jeremy, take a look at what West Covina Dodge says. I know you do some black powder work. I don't, so I'm not familiar with trying to keep the cases extra pliable for sealing purposes. But if that's something that you need to do, maybe take a look at that.
Let me, for the new guys, this is a piece of 35 Remington brass. Y'all would know I would have that laying around, right? Anyway, one of the things I like about this particular caliber and cartridge is see how small the shoulder is? It is a shouldered case, but not by much. And you may have heard me or one of the other guys refer to the web, and Kyle was talking about it spreads from down here. What Charles was saying, if you anneal your brass down to about even with the shoulder, maybe just a little bit past, or maybe not even to the shoulder, what you're doing here is you're making this the softest part of the brass. So it's going to grow here. Whereas the web is way down here. This is your thickest part of the brass. Right in there, just above the case head. It's real thick right in there. And that's what Kyle's talking about, is this gets stretched out this way because this is all hard. It's not going anywhere. So all the stretching is going from here backwards because this is all crammed up into the chamber. So that couple of thousandths headspace is when it's fired, this case is going back against the bolt face. And that's where your stretching is coming from right here. So that's what causes a case head separation is this part of the brass will actually come apart. And you've got issues.
Thank you for explaining that. I said it moves up this way, but just because that's where you cut it off from.
Well, yeah, and that's the same thing. And with I had a question about 223 brass, but I can't remember what it was now. These little things, these can be so much fun to reload and shoot. But man, doing the case prep on them can be just a nightmare, pain in the backside.
It's like having to paint your house before every Friday.
Yeah, and that's the reason I'll size mine before I trim it, because I don't like trimming brass, and I don't know anybody that does. But those little things, those 223 brass, it seems to me like they grow more than anything else. And I think it's because we're typically shooting them in an AR, which has a whole lot of headspace room to ensure the feed that it's going to feed in there. And you also got to remember the especially 308s particularly are designed to run in a machine gun. The NATO 7.62 by 51. That's all sized out to run in a machine gun and ensure correct feeding. So you're going to get all kind of slop in them things. If you're going to do that, you better have a really good sizing die.
Yeah, 223 does stretch an awful lot because everything's so sloppy. I do know people with bolt action 223s, and they come over and reload at my house for their rifle. And I'm trimming mine because I trim them all the way back to minimum length. And within 2 loadings of, even when I was trying to figure out a cast bullet load for the 55 Lee mold, so I mean they're not really overpressured or anything like that. I'd only get 2 loadings out of them. I have to trim them again. It's weird. I was impressed with these 308 casings. What's really impressive is a 300 Win Mag case. It headspaces back here off of the shoulder. I don't know if you can see that. Y'all see that shoulder right here? That's where the cartridge headspace is from. And Adam was over here, and we were loading up some of these, and I was checking everything, and I was like, man, this is kind of neat, you know. So he went out and shot a box, brought them back, we redid them. He went out and shot a box, brought them back, and we redid them, brought them over here, and you know, reloaded them again, and he shot a box, and I'm like, these things aren't growing. I don't understand. I don't know if it's because it's got the massive case webbing here, or we're actually on the low side on the charge, but maybe this time when he gets done with it, we'll have to trim the brass because it was nowhere near max the last time we loaded them. So that's an interesting cartridge right there. Maybe it's so damn long that it's got room to do its thing.
Belted magnums are not the same case construction as a standard bottleneck cartridge.
Right. Yeah, it's not the same animal. That's what I'm saying, man. This is weird.
Yeah, one of the things I've said this probably before on here. There's a guy that I was trying to help out. It was a new reloader, and he would take Magnum powder and try to use it in everything, and it was just really weird thing he was doing where he very strange. And then I found he was trying to download a belted Magnum, and I don't remember which one it was, and just like, man, you have no understanding of how these things are working. If you can't get, it's just, yeah. Because with those belted magnums, I think actually the brass is even different.
Yeah, it's way thicker down here in the base.
Well, the head is extraordinarily thick, but I think the actual brass is different. The actual case is different. The brass makeup is different.
Okay, chemical construction.
Yeah, I think it's even harder, and I think it's probably a pretty big deal to make sure that those are annealed if you're moving them. If you're moving them up towards their normal operating pressures, I think they need to be annealed pretty regularly.
Yeah, we were playing, like I said, with low charge weights. He's one of those guys that he'll go out shooting every 3 months and then bring the brass back, and we'll work up a load. And he's got a notebook. He was in the Navy and all that stuff. I've shot plenty of 300 Win Mag. I've never reloaded it. So he's got all kinds of detailed notes and what was going on and speeds and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you're nowhere near where this thing needs to be. Let's bump it up. Let's do this. Let's do that. And hell, we were 5 or 6 reloads in, and it only grew like 1,000th, and you got like 8,000ths to go. I was like, man, we need to step this thing up a notch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's I think magnums need to be loaded right to operate properly.
Yeah, and reloading for precision long distance shooting, I'm talking 800 to 1,500 meters. That's a whole different ball game. Everything's got to be perfect. We're going to have to clean our flash holes. We're going to have to size and ream our primer pockets to exact specifications. We're going to have to, first of all, start with brass that was fired out of the exact same rifle, so it's case formed. It's fire hardened or fire formed to your chamber. Then you're going to want to neck size it, which could or could not grow the neck. If it grows the neck, you need to anneal it and then trim it. It's a whole different ball game. And then you're using case comparators. You got to ensure the headspace is where it needs to be, because you want the 15th round that comes off your press to be exactly the same as the first round. And the only way to do that is to take your time, and it's not a fast process, and do not use a progressive press.
All right, another rookie question. I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. I think I know the answer. Do you still get the butterflies from when you're doing rifle? Probably more than you do when you do pistol, but do you still get the butterflies from when you're making a load? Like the first load. You know what I mean? That
The first one that I loaded with these 208 grain 30 cals for my 308, I started seating that bullet and I started hearing that crunching. I was like, then I got to the bottom of the stroke, and the real butterflies was when I first pulled the trigger.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about when you pull the trigger, not when you're making the
Oh
ammo.
hell, I had butterflies when I was pushing the lever down, sir. You've never heard that noise.